Hello and welcome to Channels Book Club. My name is Olakunle Kasumo and I'm always excited to be on this show. We talk about all things books. We talk to writers, authors, publishers, we do book reviews, and all things imaginable when it comes to books. Now, Nigerians are all over the world. We've got millions and millions of Nigerians scattered all over the world, and many of them are doing great things, regardless of the not so good news we hear now and then about Nigerians overseas. But generally, Nigerians are doing great things overseas, and it's good to beam or focus attention on them quite a number of times. Very important. So that will remind us that we are great people, we are good people generally, regardless of the few who try to tarnish the image of the nation. Now, we've got one great Nigerian in the United States of America as our guest today. She's done wonderfully well in the academia, and also she's written a book that you and I ought to read. Now, let's get to meet with her and then enjoy the chat we had with Dr. Omotayo Banjo.
Dr. Omotayo Banjo is an academic and a researcher. Her research work centers on identity with a special focus on ethnic and transnational creative content and its impact on audiences' self-concept and value. Dr. Banjo is currently an associate professor of communication at the University of Cincinnati, which serves as an affiliate faculty of Africana Studies and Women, Gender and Sexuality Studies. Her works have been published in several journals, including Race and Social Problems, Journal of Media and Religion, and Communication Theory, amongst others. She joins Channels Book Club to discuss her book, Dreams for Our Children, Immigrant Letters to the Future.
Doc, it's great to have you on Channels Book Club. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here.
Great. How is the U.S.? You are in Ohio.
Yes, it's okay. It's fine.
With all the COVID, COVID seems to be, the world seems to be a bit quiet about COVID these days now. It's all about Ukraine now.
Exactly. That's why I paused, because right now we just got off the heels of being frustrated with masks, and now we're siding with Ukraine and dealing with that from afar. So I think considering all that the world is going through, we are okay.
Wow, great. Your book, that's why we're here. Exciting work. Over the years, there have been a lot of conversations and discussions around the experience of immigrants, not just in the United States, but all over the world. It's quite an interesting subject, particularly for those who are experiencing the challenges and, of course, the opportunities of being immigrants. So your book is really relevant, very relevant, I must say. Congratulations.
Good. Thank you so much.
Dreams for Our Children, Immigrant Letters to the Future. Tell us about this book and what inspired it.
Oh, wow. So many things inspired it, but the vision of the book was to be able to capture the hopes of immigrants in general, but especially here in the US, against the background of a narrative at the time that continues. But in 2016, when Trump won the election, there was a lot of anti-immigrant sentiment. So there was a lot of beliefs about immigrants sort of tearing down this country. And I wanted to capture the stories of everyday people who leave their countries to find some kind of respite, to find something for their family, to do something for their children. And I wanted to be able to capture the hearts of that story. But I was also inspired by the many immigrants that we see on screen, people like Yvonne Orji, who's from Nigeria, who are creating space using film and television or music to say, we are here and we are contributing to this labor market, we are contributing to the culture. So I wanted to capture those stories and say that immigrants have a place here. They have a story that goes beyond that, the belief that they're stealing jobs, they're ruining society. That's not true. So that was the motivation behind the book.
Here was I looking at your book and reading the letters, and we'll talk about that very soon. And then listening to you right now, and I'm wondering, in a country like the United States, which was built by immigrants, how did it get to a point where you needed to remind people that immigrants are great contributors to the economy of the United States and wherever they find themselves all over the world and all that? So how did it get to that point, particularly in the US? You mentioned what happened during the Trump administration. Was that the beginning of it? I doubt it, but I will like to hear from you. How did it get to that point where you needed to write this book?
I mean, I don't even know if we have time for me to talk about all the different things that led up to it. But it's interesting because, as you said, this country was really built. It was founded, well, not founded, but immigrants came here. Enslaved Africans helped build this country. And it's interesting because right now, I don't know if you've heard about the debate over critical race theory, which is a theory that talks about how we came to be in this place where we are questioning how institutions play a role in our understandings of race and racial ideology and how we understand one another. So I would say that we got to this place because there's a lot of pushback against this kind of education, teaching actually what happened, teaching about enslaved Africans. For example, there is a bill, a proposition now in Texas. They want to change the language from Africans were slaves or they were enslaved to Africans came to work. They said, hey, let me get on a boat. I'm just going to go and work for some country and be beaten and be treated without respect. So they're changing the language. They're trying to change the story. As it is now, unfortunately, it seems that there are too many Americans who see America as a white country. But the truth is that it is immigrants who built this country, not only the structures of this country, but the culture that people love to dance to that goes around the world came from people of color in this country. And so I wanted to capture their stories, and not just their stories, not just brown people, but all of our stories, because I wanted us to see how connected we really are.
Wow. Like you said, we can discuss that all day long. I mean, that's a subject that really interests me a lot. Now, let's come to the very content of your book, the structure, the organization. When somebody opens your book, somebody is watching us right now and is curious, he opens your book. What is he going to find in there? How is your book organized? I gave a hint earlier on about getting contributors to write letters. You might want to explain that.
Yes. So I want to be clear that it's not a book that I have written from cover to back. It is an anthology. It's a collection of letters from people around the country who I invited anyone who wanted to think about what would you want to say to your children, especially in this time. People come here, and I don't know that they really think through. When you have a child, what do you give them? Do you give them what you had at home? Do you want them to be American? What are the kinds of questions you have to ask yourself? So what I would hope for people to find one is that you're not alone in trying to negotiate identity. Identity is a constant negotiation, especially when you are in a place that's not home. And then I hope that they can maybe find themselves, because as a person who is a cultural hybrid, I was born in the States. There are moments when you may wonder, where am I? You know, I'm not fully 100% Nigerian or Chinese or Polish or Italian or Cambodian, because I was born here, right? There's a bicultural aspect to one's identity. So I hope that when some people read this book, they'll be able to see themselves, that it's okay to not have to choose. It's okay to be both. It's okay to decide, you know, this part of the culture works for me, this part does not. I believe identity starts with a name. And there are many immigrants who come, especially among Asian groups, who feel like they have to change their names because it helps with assimilation. And I think that when you get here, even though, I mean, I don't have that immigrant experience, but I have observed, when you choose, hey, I'm going to change my name, that is an indication of the path you're thinking about choosing at the time. How do I want to engage with Americans here? Do I want to make it easy for them, easy for me? My parents made me very proud of my name, so I've never Americanized or anglicized my name. But there are many people who do that. So I wanted to start with that question of what is in a name? What is the power of your name? And then I end with the chapter, Names That Take Root, where the author talks about just remembering your roots, the importance of knowing your foundation. You can change your name. You cannot subscribe to certain cultural aspects of your heritage, but don't forget where you come from.
Okay, so what has been your experience like in terms of embracing your own identity over there? Do you ever experience being here and there at the same time, the confusion of both? Or for you, it's different? Is it a different experience from somebody who is an actual immigrant? Can you explain that bit for us?
So one of the things about the book that I appreciate is that it's intergenerational. I wanted it to be intergenerational because the experience of my parents, they're not going to be my experience, and my experience won't be the same as my daughter. And so for me, I'm in between. I've always been in between, not fully understanding what it is to have left Nigeria and come here, and not being born here, as in not having roots here in America. So for me, it has been a constant negotiation. But then you get to a place where you realize you don't have to choose. I heard this one great quote by Fanon that said something about how at the end of the day, you don't have to choose. You can just be who you are. And I think I've reached that place where I know that there's some part of me that comes from the heritage that my parents gave me, and there's some part of me that came from the culture that I grew up in. So that's how I've made peace with it.
Great. Dr. Omotayo Banjo, it's been great to have you on Channels Book Club. An absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And well done on your book. Great one. And we look forward to your next one. I hope you're writing the next one.
Yeah, there's more coming.
Great. Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant lady, Dr. Omotayo Banjo. Now, the Nigeria International Book Fair is the most important book fair in Nigeria. Not just the most important, it is the biggest book fair in Nigeria. And we're heading towards it again. Now, our guest is going to tell us a lot more about the Nigeria International Book Fair for this year, 2022. If you've never visited the book fair before, and you have anything to do with books, you might want to pop in this year. Enjoy this. Badika, nice to have you on Channels Book Club.
Nice to see you today.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. But, this COVID everything has done a lot for in the industry, even everywhere.
Everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world. But thankfully, it seems to be dying down now, even though it's still a global issue. But there seems to be a better approach to it, and maybe the world is getting more used to it, and the vaccinations and all that.
To certain extent, but the havoc, the world, we are still battling.
We are still correct. We're correct. Very correct.
We are still battling with it.
Now, one area the COVID breakout, the COVID problem, or whatever I want to call it now, one area that affected, of course, was book fairs around the world. And I know you travel a lot to attend international book fairs.
Yeah.
And there were quite a number of book fairs during the COVID period that were affected. Either they were postponed or cancelled or done online, as against the traditional people gathering at the physical space. Is that correct?
You are right. Absolutely. You are right. You are right. But in this part of the world, Africa, it's a big challenge. And they say your sense of creativity develops in the times of challenges. So, publishers in Africa were 85% physical books.
Yes.
So, but with this COVID everything, it teaches us on how not to do it again. So, and we are seriously, we've
had to be creative and innovative and
seriously. So
leverage on technology.
Exactly. So, and one is, the area of physical contact, definitely it's not a sector, that was badly affected by all sectors. But going by the nature of our own sector, the custodian of what people need to, upgrade themselves. It makes people so, not having opportunity of, getting access to materials to read. But because of the nature of publishing, the style of publishing in this part of the world.
Yeah. That's. Now, I know you introduced an online angle, digital angle to the Nigerian International Book Fair last year, and I think 2 years before, 2 years ago, and so on. And that was new because Nigerian International Book Fair used to hold fully physically, 100% physically, at University of Lagos for many years. I think almost for 18 years or so. Before then, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, right.
So how did that go? Having that hybrid. I know there was a physical version and then there was an online version. I think there was even a year when it was fully online. Is that correct? 2 years ago.
Right, absolutely. You're right. I said in this kind of situation, when there is crisis in the land, you reason more, and a lot of things will definitely, deposited into your brain. We realized that even after our first digital, virtual book fair, we realized that we attract a lot of people across the world.
So there were more people that came.
I'm telling you. So now, with that, our fair is now a very popular one. So, and even last year, because we had a hybrid last year, where we have physical and virtual, because it gives, even Nigerians and people outside this continent, even this after this country, that opportunity
to be involved. Okay, yeah. That's interesting. Before we talk about the book fair this year, book fairs generally.
Yeah.
I should ask, book fairs generally, how important are they in terms of growing or influencing or changing the book culture in societies? I don't know whether that applies a lot to Nigeria, considering the fact that not too many people, when you consider our overall population, really pay attention to the Nigerian International Book Fair, unlike in some other countries where they have grown their book fair over the many years and all that. But generally speaking, how important are book fairs in influencing reading culture in any country?
Thank you very much for that question. When we are talking of a book fair, literally, or from the word book fair, that is to say, people are celebrating book fair. That is, books all over the country. They are somewhere where people are showcasing them. That is from the name. But in a way, we have practitioners. When we are talking of books, we have a lot of people in that sector. In that, we call it ecosystem. That is, we have the publishers, we have the authors, we have the booksellers, we have the librarians, we have everybody in that ecosystem involving in that practice. That is to say, it's the kind of opportunity for people to see arrays of books. When we are talking of reading culture, not say that people are not really interested in reading per se, but people cannot lay their hand on what they are interested in reading. But when you have opportunity of, attending book fair, you see arrays of books, even with the practitioners, who are who in that business of book production, writing of books, the librarians, books.
Like you said, the book ecosystem.
That's just it. That's just it.
Okay.
So, through that, you see something that interests you when you have an opportunity of seeing, attending book fair. And apart from that one, book fair this time around, we are not limiting, what we do only to displaying of books. We develop the capacity of the players.
There's so much to talk about, but because of our time, I won't allow you to leave until you talk to us about the book fair this year. We've got a very short time left. But very quickly, the Nigerian International Book Fair this year is round the corner. Tell us a bit about it in terms of what date and venue is it?
Book fair is coming up between 12th of this month and the 14th.
12th to 14th of May.
And we are going to use the same venue where you use us. We try to up our game this time around. So Arbor Point Event Center in VI, and this time around, the upper house, passed, the copyright bill in few weeks ago. I don't know. And, this time around, we centered our fair this year on our conference on this copyright. Because our team this year is copyright and book growth sustainable. This time around, when we have very good law in place, so definitely it's going to change the game for us.
Game changer. So this year is about copyright.
Exactly.
12 to 14th of May, Harbour Point, VI Lagos, right?
Yeah, 22nd edition
of the Nigerian International Book Fair.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to bring you back because there's a lot to talk about. I mean, outside of the book fair, there's a lot to talk about with you as an individual because of the influence you've had on the book space in Nigeria, being former president of Nigeria Publishers Association and the book fair and so many other things that you have done in your career. A lot to talk about. So I hope you will oblige when we bring you in, when we invite you in.
Oh, why not? Why not? I'll be glad to share my experience. A
lot to discuss. But this is where we have to end the interview, unfortunately, because of our time. Thank you very much for joining us here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
It's
been a pleasure. Thank you. I hope you have had a good time with us on the show today. As always, we're very delighted to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.